a man called John Austin, who wrote a wonderful book about the meaning of certain types of language. He wrote a wonderful and influential book in about 1952 called How to Do Things with Words, in which he made a distinction between those types of sentences which describe things and those sorts of sentences which actually do things. You see, for example, a very good example of how he called them performative utterances, utterances that brought something about which it didn't previously exist, not physical existence, but it brought social things into existence. And he said, I don't understand, why didn't anthropology begin at home? And indeed, in some way, it's become now sort of slightly questionable, almost politically incorrect to go and visit what was then called a primitive tribe. It was thought to be condescending, and that why, in fact, doesn't social anthropology indeed begin at home, in which you watch the social structures of the place where you grew up and lived in, and perhaps study the social anthropology of English public schools. I did by accident. I had never intended to do it. I was simply invited by someone who came to me when I was in the A&E department doing my first house surgical job at University College, and asked me if I wanted to come and spend 10 days doing a show. I mean, the reason why I was approached, in the same way that the reason why Alan Bennett and Peter Cook and Dudley Moore were approached, was because they had done funny stuff when they were at university. And I was approached and asked whether I wanted to do something at the Edinburgh Festival which would compete with the Fringe, which was beginning to irritate the official festival because it seemed to outplay the official festival. And I went along thinking, well, okay, I can spare 10 days between this job and my next one. And I mean, it was so catastrophically successful that I rather weak-mindedly accepted an invitation to come to London in the belief that it might last 2 or 3 weeks or perhaps a month, and it ran for a year. And then, which time my moral fibre had rotted, so that when I was asked to take the show, you know, along with Peter and Dudley and Alan, to the United States and play it in New York, I yielded to the invitation, thinking, well, it might be rather attractive, I might make a little bit of money doing it, I might be able to finance myself during the rather badly paid years of being a young registrar before I became a consultant. And I thought, well, I'll store up some money, and one thing led to another, and that's been my life away from the medicine which I was trained to do, behind listening to her. And they never actually exchanged words at all. My wife would say good morning, sit down behind, and then she would leave and say, I'll see you next week. They had no topic. They never talked about things. And about 3 months later, my wife was going into Sainsbury's and suddenly encountered this teacher of sexual problems in marriage coming out of Sainsbury's. The first time they had encountered one another outside the thing. And this woman, as she came out of the thing, saw my wife and just said, Sainsbury's.